There we go. You might notice, hey, Hawkeye hasn't changed out, like, the party graphics from last stream. It's because I really like Fruity with Marianne. I just want to keep her there for a bit longer. I might keep her there for the remainder of episode 2. But just for the Umineko streams, I'll hide her otherwise, I think. Makes sense, right? Juniper is present. So, I'm pretty sure, and I know I think I said this last time too, potentially. I think like the really interesting part of episode 2 starts here. Don't get me wrong, it's been interesting. But I think like this is where things are really going to kick off. So, we were kind of like right before it looked like the letter was going to be read. Looks like that should be soon. Potentially. Oh, terrible time to start yawning. The person knocking was Kraus. Father, today is our annual family conference. Haven't the siblings gathered here just to get a glimpse of you? Be silent. Say I want to leave. You're there too, aren't you, Genji? Why haven't you had my food brought here as I ordered you to? Ginzo screamed across the door. Genji was waiting behind Kraus. Your meal has been prepared so that it might be carried to the study. However, Kraus summons expressed his wish that you eat downstairs tonight. Father, I'm not asking you to do this every day. Just for this one night, why don't you gather together with your family? Who are you calling family? Since when have you considered vultures circling to wait for roadkill to be family? Would you call rotting, oozing maggots family as well? My. Yare yare daze. Almost guarantee he's saying yare yare. Yep. Translator brain. Kraus shrugged at this answer, which he had half expected. Genji carried the meal here as you were told. Why don't you listen to what I say? Why? Why? Genji-san, I leave this in your capable hands. My voice will no longer reach that man. Kraus gave his head a small shake, then quickly turned his back at the door to the study. He had only come calling to save face in front of his siblings, knowing full well how useless this was. After Genji watched Kraus disappear down the stairs, he called again across the door. Master, we have finished preparations for your meal to be carried here. Shall we bring some for Dr. Nanjo as well? Nanjo could be seen in the study. Because Ginzo had forcefully pestered him into finishing their long-lasting chess game, they had been playing against each other since the early evening. Nanjo had announced as a doctor that Kinzo's days were numbered. So he couldn't refuse if Kinzo demanded that they finish this game while he still lived. Kinzo was thinking deeply about his next move, concentrating more than usual. It had been Kinzo's turn for quite some time, and Nanjo, who was tired of waiting, had randomly pulled out a book on magic that he couldn't understand and was skimming it. Kinzo-san, you won't think of a good move just by folding your arms and sitting in front of the board. Perhaps we had better take a break and refresh our minds. Be silent. That should be enough to solidify my defense. Will the bishop and the knight be able to penetrate that opening? Stop talking to yourself about chess. You're giving away your strats. Today, Kinzo was focused on maintaining a strong defense. Normally, Kinzo's motto was that offense was the best defense. However, today was completely the opposite. I am also hungry. Shall we suspend the game here? Besides, I've used my head so much without a break that I'm already feeling dizzy. At this rate, I might not be able to perform at my best. Now that won't do. In chess, both players must always make their best moves. Any other sort of move is merely a nuisance to consider, ruining a game whose focus is predicting your opponent's thoughts. Such a thing considerably reduces our enjoyment. Kinzo sighed deeply and finally shifted his gaze away from the board. Chess isn't chess without an opponent. If that opponent is tired and wants to suspend the game, there's no getting around it. True, the goal of chess is for both players to make the best possible moves and aim for victory. It's an intellectual game, where reading your opponent is key. But Kinzo-san, have you forgotten that there's another goal besides victory? Fun? I don't think he cares about fun. What? What other goal could there possibly be? To think that you of all people would forget something like that. Chess is a way to pass the time having fun with a friend. You've got me there. I believe I once said those exact words to you long ago. Yes, you've got me there. Kinzo, who almost always wore a frown, relaxed his face for once and laughed. Nanjo felt like he'd been reunited with a close friend he hadn't seen in ages. That's how it is. Now that I've managed to take a shot back at you, what do you say? Will you go down with me and have dinner? Why don't we discuss Kasparov's middle game along with some coffee? An appealing proposition, but I'm afraid I must decline. I can no longer leave this room. After all, the ceremony has already begun. Is that so? Well, my stomach's growling. I will go downstairs. Anytime you feel like it. Nanjo, thank you. Oh, what could you be thanking me for? We didn't finish our match. However, it seems I have somehow achieved that second goal of chess, which I'd forgotten. And it would appear that goal is no less important than achieving checkmate. This isn't like you. Why so sentimental? You said it yourself, did you not? My days in this world are numbered. Now go, and don't come to this room again. Let's continue this match at the Golden Land. That's fine with me, but we'll have to start over. Losing that rook was a serious blow. Well then, I will see you later. Yes, later. Maybe in the Golden Land, or in Purgatory. Or possibly in the next world. Poor Nanjo. Sweet scene though. Nanjo didn't say anything beyond that, and with a motion made smooth by familiarity, he pushed the button on the table that would release the auto-lock. Then, after looking at Kinzo's back one last time, he left the study. Not that deep in sleep after all, huh? As he did, Genji's voice came with the roll. Hey, Zeldavan. If you are ready, Master, I will now carry in your dinner. It may be my final dinner. I must savor it. Please prepare it. As you wish. And are your preparations complete as well, Master? Indeed. In the time leading up to this day, this room has been carefully wrapped in a multitude of barriers. Even if a ruler chooses me, I will definitely repel it. I will remain alive, and will surely become one of those who reach the Golden Land. I shall repulse the visit of the Reapers trying to drag me off to the land of the dead. Now she's up. Yeah, I noticed it happened twice in a row. The RNG on that's kind of weird sometimes. Excuse me, I have come to serve your meal. Shannon entered the VIP room, bowing her head and pushing the serving cart. The young woman by the window, gazing out to the supposedly empty darkness, was definitely that witch. So it is Shannon this time. How long it's been. Oh, your face is nearly as pale as it once was. I can see you're no Kana. I hardly recognize you. Thank you very much. Shannon solemnly prepared dinner. There were actually several things she wanted to ask the witch, but they were all jumbled up and she didn't know where to start. Her heart was also jumbled up and she didn't even understand her own emotions. So she could only do her job dispassionately with everything still vague. However, the witch saw what was in her heart. You can't hide anything from a witch. I won't apologize. I'm a witch, after all. Apologize for what? Come now. Kennen must have told you about it. I only rescued your love life because of my mischievous spirit. It was nothing more than a seed I sowed so I could watch your love grow complicated, become twisted, and fail. I imagine some people think it's more fun to hear about love than to have it. You couldn't possibly be trying to thank me, right? I am. No matter what kind of ulterior motive you had when you gave me the magic of love, it doesn't change the fact that I received it from you. So even if you sowed that seed, knowing that the two of us wouldn't be able to stay together for life, I won't hold a grudge against you. It seems furniture is dull after all. This is where I show my skill by cooking it into something interesting. I don't understand what you're thinking, Beatrice-sama. You are a great witch, and people like us don't even reach your feet, nor can we even imagine your grand thoughts. But there's at least one thing I can say. What is it? Thank you for teaching me to be human. You said it yourself. I'm no longer furniture. Be silent, furniture. If you were a true human, hearing the announcement of your death on the day that you were to receive an engagement ring should have you dancing around mad with grief. What are you doing? Your face looks so enlightened as though you've accepted everything. Truly an anti-climax, furniture. No, I am not furniture. Be silent, furniture. I love this exchange. Beatrice is so mad that someone isn't, like, totally in despair over her actions. I won't be silent, because I'm not furniture. Are you saying you won't obey my orders? Furniture obeys orders, but a human decides for herself whether to obey orders or not. So I won't obey your orders. I take back what I said. You really are interesting. If I hadn't sowed those seeds, you probably would have allowed the ceremony to control your fate without clinging to any emotions. But now you've grown to become something truly interesting. Something that will entertain me to no end. That as well, for I'm not fond of boredom. Dinner is ready. Here you go. Trying to get the frog in my throat. Doesn't this look delicious? If Koro makes it to the Golden Land, perhaps I shall commission him as my chief cook. I heard from Kanan-kun something about how, if I rejected George-san's proposal, you promised not to make me a sacrifice. Indeed, I said as much. You would make an ideal potential sacrifice for the second twilight. But because Kan cried and screamed, asking that I spare you, I graciously listened to his words. With the condition that you abandon your engagement, of course. See how gracious I am? What a foolish offer, and what a foolish threat. So you used that to thoroughly bully Kanan-kun, did you? Oh, so you comprehend. Apparently, Shannon had seen through it. She had apparently guessed how the witch had bullied and humiliated Kanan with that horrible promise as bait. I made him crawl on the carpet and kiss my shoes. And that's not all. Do you want to hear the other ways in which I humiliated him? Shannon silently shook her head. I've finally come to understand you. You like to bully, confuse, and trouble people, and you do it to entertain yourself. So now I know for sure the one single way I can resist you. My bad. I don't care about you. I'll care about the fate that has been given to me, that's all. I want to entertain you. I muted to clear my throat. Again. I don't care about you? The witch's features twisted in hatred for just an instant. It disappeared immediately, but the expression that briefly rose to her face was rare for the witch, whose malicious smile usually never faded for a second. I see, so you might resist me in that way. How amusing. How truly entertaining. I'll kill you. You and your lover both. If that's the fate decided upon, do as you will. I won't be afraid, and I won't stand against you. After all, I don't believe that the cruel fate that's coming is controlled by your will. We humans know nothing about fates that might come to pass in the future. That's why I'll live to the fullest until the last instant, following my convictions and the fate set before me. Fate is just a roll of the dice. There's no malice in it. Even if you claim there is, I won't believe it. Oh. So even though you've quit being furniture, you have no fear of death. It seems you believe this will bore me, but you couldn't be more wrong. The thought of seeing whether you can hold on to that view until the last moment merely serves to intrigue me more and more. I'll get it down eventually, sure. I can't stand this. Why did you take the form of a human, appear in front of us, speak with human words, and ridicule us? If you hadn't appeared in front of us, if you hadn't predicted the future, we would have been able to live life to the fullest until the last moment. That's what witches do. I live off their fates, reigning as a high order being does over low order beings. Your fates are nothing more than fragments. If I cup my hands together, I could scoop at as many of those as I want. Just like how no matter how the beef cows I raise might babble, it doesn't change the fact that I'll be having them for dinner. Beatrice raises cows? We are powerless, so we cannot fight against your ceremony or fate. But I can make you unhappy right now. Oh, and how were you planning to accomplish this? By walking away from this place right now. No matter how I respond to your words, it will only amuse you. Refusing to respond to your questions is my only method of resisting you. I see. You might be able to take a shot at me, but you cannot defeat me, yes? I have the power to kill anyone for eternity. I cannot wait to see whether you keep up that resistance in an endlessly repeating cycle of death and rebirth. Don't you forget it, okay? You spoke those words yourself. Well then, if you will excuse me, if you need anything, please call me. She's just going with the block and walk away response, which is pretty nice, honestly. It's very respectable. It's a real power play. Shannon gave a reserved bow and faced away. With that gesture, maybe she really did take a shot back at the witch, just as Beatrice had said. Because, when the witch called out again, she sounded a little more quick-tempered than she had before. Cannon thanked me. Can't you? Can't you thank me for bringing you your day of rest? Furniture may be happy when their day of rest comes, but I am a human. So I have nothing to thank you for. Is that all you have to say? You plan to accept George's ring, yes? Don't forget that if you do, I will abandon the promise I made with Cannon, the promise that you would not be selected as a sacrifice. If you need anything else, I'll have someone else come. If you will excuse me. Ooh. A fodder interruption. Shannon still hadn't answered her, and the sound of the door closing came instead of an answer. Shannon's resistance probably struck far more deeply into the witch than Shannon herself thought, because an expression of hatred once again rose to Beatrice's face. She had made Cannon submit, even though he hadn't been ensnared until the end, whereas Shannon, who had been so easily ensnared before, refused to submit this time. I see, so this state of affairs is amusing after all. Perhaps I really am still young. This is why I haven't tired of life after 1,000 years. She's just so used to everything going her way. This was the most fabulous part of the family conference. Dinner. In the past, when Kenzo had been serious about the conference, he'd taken everyone's yearly gathering for dinner very seriously. Any embarrassments during dinner would shame him greatly as the host, so he had given Natsu stern orders to avoid such mishaps at all costs. Because of that, she and Kraus eventually hired Goda, who had confidence in his cooking abilities. Thanks to that, they became able to serve wonderful dinners they could be competent in, missing a word here. But by that time, Kenzo had closed himself up in his study and never appeared for dinner. Maybe you could call that ironic. When the main dish for tonight, calf steak, was set out, Goda began to describe it proudly, further stimulating everyone's appetites. The sauce here is Bordelaise. Of course, the red wine base I used was excellent even among those made in Bordeaux. But in addition, I prepared an original blend of this house, a blend of choice alcohol from around the world to further deepen the taste. This sauce is limited to this year. I sincerely hope you all enjoy your meal. Isn't that wonderful? However, isn't Bordelaise sauce common to French cooking? It almost seems like using alcohol from outside France. With that as heresy. Girl-sama, today is the annual family conference. As a dinner for those who normally live far away and who have traveled far from across the world to gather together, I realized it would be most fitting to have a sauce made from a blend of fine alcohols from all over the planet that have never met each other before. So I had it specially prepared. Wonderful. A truly wonderful cook, that's what you are. Food and medicine work twice as well if you sell it right. It's already twice as delicious as normal food, and the advertising makes it twice as good as that. The taste keeps doubling and doubling. Ha ha ha. Come on, Nissan. That question of yours was obviously planned. No doubt about it. You totally set Goda-san up to steal the show on that one. You think so? I thought there might be some people who didn't notice that today's food was in the French style. After all, Ava just said that avoiding butter was a virtue, but that's the Spanish style. Well, I guess they do share a border, right? That's not what I meant. Will you please not take a part of the conversation out of context and make stuff up? It's a very delicious sauce. Goda-san, you certainly are amazing. It is a great honor to receive your praise, and this is all thanks to Madame's habitual guidance. No, it was all Goda's idea. I only listened to the recipe and approved of it. Oh, everyone's being so cordial. It looks like the siblings quickly got into a loud argument about the sauce. Never mind. But for the most part, dinner proceeded peacefully. However, a certain question they desperately wanted to ask burned inside each one of them. It was about that visitor, the 19th person, the Golden Witch. In actuality, Eva and Rudolph and the rest were very much on their guards during their meal. If the mystery guest was ever going to be introduced, this dinner table would be the most appropriate place to do it. However, no place was set at the dinner table for the witch. The family conference would begin in earnest after the meal, and previous experiences told them that it might last until deep in the night. However, they couldn't imagine why such a person should be kept hidden until that late. I'm not actually really tired, I'm just yawning. I can't stop. I gotta breathe more. If they were going to be introduced in the end anyway. Rosa, get out the damn letter. So, Ava and Rudolph and the rest were starting to feel a certain suspicion. Perhaps this guest was unknown even to Kraus. If this wasn't an assassin called by Kraus to give him an advantage in the inheritance problem, then maybe they should speak frankly to Kraus beforehand, creating a common front to resist anything disadvantageous. I read this as anything disadvantageous to the poor siblings. I've got more coffee, but I'm gonna wait a while before I heat it up, I think. Maybe when I start Labyrinth, or maybe halfway through this, I'm not sure. If she was Kenzo's assassin, whose purpose was to keep the inheritance from being handed over to the four siblings, the enmity between Kraus and the other siblings could only become a weak point that benefited the enemy. Well then, please enjoy at your leisure. When he finished explaining the reasoning behind the table setting and the cooking, Goda tried to leave the room, but Kiria called him to stop with a small voice. Yes, Kiria-sama, what is it? Please excuse me. I was under the impression we had company today, but can we expect to be joined at the dinner table? She had planned on saying it nonchalantly, but unfortunately, it reached the ears of Natsui, who was sitting in the next seat over. It seemed that Natsui had heard it as, even though the guests have come, why hasn't the host come to dinner? In other words, that Kitty had asked whether Kinzo was going to join them for dinner. The family had his not at its best, so he said he would take dinner in his study. I believe my husband explained that in the beginning. I'm sorry, that's not what I meant. Natsui's reaction instantly told Kirie that this unknown visitor was also known to Kraus and his wife. It's a reminder that Kirie saw Beatrice in the hall and had kind of like a brief encounter with her. But she only told the siblings that don't live here. She didn't tell Kraus and Natsuhi because they wanted to like hold the inheritance, like talk surprise on them and like threaten them. They were like, kind of like holding it over them to wait and see if it was something that Kraus and Natsuhi had planned. Which meant, on the chessboard inside Kirya's mind, she could hear the clattering of the pieces as they rearranged themselves. What do you mean we have company? Valor, who had been sitting next to Natsuhi, seemed to have heard Kirya's words without misunderstanding them. Thinking it strange that someone else would be invited to today's family conference, he spoke up incredulously. And thanks to that, the uncomfortable feeling building in the siblings' chest suddenly exploded. Everyone looked at Goda at the same time. Judging by their reactions, it was clear that no one here had invited that mystery woman. For an instant, Goda was startled to find everyone's gazes gathered on him, but because of his naturally vain personality, this actually gave him a feeling of superiority. Very, very important that we know this about him. Therefore, he answered in an extremely calm and graceful manner. That is correct. Our guest wanted to eat alone in the VIP room and is being served there. That extremely graceful and reasonable response of Goda's made it obvious to everyone that a 19th person, a visitor, existed. The VIP room? A guest? What? Who are you talking about? Natsuhi's words echoed the question that everyone who didn't know about the appearance of the Golden Witch was thinking. For a while, Goda was disoriented, caught completely off guard by the sudden interrogation. This was a guest who had been treated with such deep respect. He hadn't imagined that Kraus and his wife might not even know about her. That guest is, Beatrice-sama. Beatrice! See? Beatrice came. Ooh. Maria had been telling the other cousins over and over again that she had met Beatrice that day. The cousins had answered flippantly, but they hadn't believed. So their eyes grew wide. Sorry, I totally thought you were joking, Maria. So she really was there. By Beatrice, you mean that Beatrice with the gold? Ooh, I've been saying she exists the whole time. No one believes. Sorry, Maria-chan, that's not how we meant it. After learning that everyone had doubted Beatrice's existence, Maria, who had been in a good mood all day, completely lost her temper. George, who sat in the next seat over, tried frantically to calm Maria. Goda, is this some sort of dinner entertainment? What a performance. Aniki, quit playing dumb. You called her here, right? Called? Called whom? From where? Nisan, let's be clear about this. Who is she? Surely you aren't going to tell us it really is the Beatrice from that portrait, right? I don't have a clue what you people are talking about. Goda, you really aren't joking, right? I was ordered by Genji-san, call for Genji, immediately. When Natsu yelled, Goda sped out into the hallway. The sound of the door being thrown open was the spark that suddenly set the dinner table ablaze. Not literally, thankfully. So you're saying you're in the dark too, Aniki. Who called her? Was it Dad? I don't know anything about this. It seems you people think I've been pulling the strings behind the scenes, but that's a huge misunderstanding. Calm down, Krasny-san. We've gone past the stage of skirmishing with each other. If you're saying even you don't know this mystery person, then something crazy's going on. Hideyoshi-san, can't you be a little more discreet with your words? My husband would not invite unnecessary people to the family conference. Obviously. What are you people talking about? Are you saying the witch of the portrait has broken out of her frame and appeared? It's not as though anyone's actually met this witch face to face. I met her. Ava and Rudolph nodded at Rosa's proclamation. Ooh, I met her too. Uncle Kraus, believe it. Believe Mama. Ooh. The brief tension was broken, and Maria also started to make a ruckus. By now, the room was thoroughly wrapped in chaos. I don't have a clue what's going on, so what does it mean? Does it mean the witch who gave Grandfather the gold is showing up as a special guest this year? But is that really true? Aunt Rosa didn't see it wrong, did she? I met her too. Ooh. Aunt Rosa, are you sure? Yes. Maria and I met her, and we even talked to her. I met her. That was definitely a witch. Believe me, I definitely didn't see it wrong or hallucinate or anything. What on earth was that? You have the letter. Don't forget the letter. As far as Maria hasn't reminded her by now. In the instant before the typhoon arrived, Rosa definitely met a witch in the rose garden. But the scene had been so hard to accept this truth, that the more she spoke of it like this, the less she understood what it was she had encountered. Ironically, since she was losing her composure, the more frantically she tried to cling to her claim, the more confused and hazy the things she was describing became. Because of that, it only took a single, calmly spoken sentence to confirm the nature of what she was describing beyond doubt. I also met with her. I greeted, well, I wouldn't really call it that. I exchanged a few words with her. It's definitely not something that Rosa-san just saw wrong. Hide-san, are you serious? Yes, but she didn't tell me her name, so I can't say for certain that she was Beatrice. However, and sorry if this is subjective, but since I met her in the entrance hall, I was able to compare her face with the portrait. My first impression was that this portrait has to be hers. This is all just subjective. That isn't possible. In the first place, where did that woman come from? The only boat arriving today was the one that brought all of you here. Was she on that boat? Well, it's hard to say for sure. Of course, I don't remember any woman like that getting off the boat with us. Oh, is that all? Can you prove there wasn't a boat besides the one we rode on? You can't. You can't prove one didn't arrive. Makes sense. If another boat did arrive, it might be possible to prove it. If someone saw it and said they saw it, then you're done. But it's impossible to prove that such a boat didn't arrive. Even if everyone says that no such boat arrived, that they didn't see it arrive, you can't prove that it didn't arrive secretly. It's that thing they call a devil's proof. Oh, the nasty devil's proof. It'd be simple to prove that devils exist. All you have to do is meet a devil. But it's impossible to prove that devils don't exist. Just by saying that no one has ever met a devil, you can't deny the possibility that they're hiding away somewhere humans can't go. Bigfoot's proof. You can't deny the existence of aliens for exactly the same reason. Until humanity searches the whole of space and you can show perfectly that aliens don't exist, you can't be sure that they don't exist. And it's definitely impossible for us to ever check the entirety of space for the existence of aliens. Therefore, while there may be a number of ways to prove that aliens do exist, it will always be impossible to show proof that denies their existence. So, any discussion about there being a second boat would just be a waste of our time. She wasn't on the boat with us, that much is a fact, so she must have arrived on this island through some other means. That's right, there may be no need to discuss how she came here. What's important is that she's actually in this mansion now, and doesn't feel like having dinner with us. Okay, let's review. Right now, there is another guest in the island other than the 18 people with the Umineko family. And this is a guest even Aniki and Natsuki-san don't know about, right? I know nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. Be silent for now. Your headache will get worse. It is as my wife says. I have no idea what you people have been talking about until now. Then there can only be one answer. Father called her here. Called her here for today's family conference. For the family conference? Again, why? I don't know that. I'm questioning you because I thought you might know. Ava, could you give it a rest? Kraus-Nisan said he doesn't know. So here's what we've got. Father stealthily invited the witch of the portrait as a secret guest, and she met with Rosa-san and Maria-chan, and then Kirie-san. That's all for now. If she has something to say to us, she could just show herself right away. Now we've got to wonder why she shut herself up without greeting us. Does this mean Dad, who never gave a crap about the family conference in the first place, secretly called a new mistress here? And had her wear the clothes of his ideal witch? This day's too important for that explanation to fly. There can only be one reason. To join in on the family conference. She wants to claim some right to father's inheritance. Ridiculous. The family head wouldn't have something as filthy as a mistress. I told you to be quiet. I've lived in this mansion with father all this time, and I've never heard a thing about something like that. If we stretch plausibility to the limit and assume father had an illegitimate child with some mistress decades ago... Allie, no. You can't. Come on. She was... No. She was fixing to jump onto my lap. From the top of my computer at that. Go on. Then maybe father searched her out and called her here today. Is that what you're trying to say? Dear, it's absurd to think father is such a child. To waste the noble blood of the Ushimita family on a mistress. This is nothing more than a few people making wild claims. It's obviously a fantasy, a delusion, a daydream. Or is everyone taking part in some kind of act to trick my husband? What act? If anyone's acting, it's you. Quit it, Aniki. As you said, maybe a bit over-vehement, but she's right. Kirei saw her. I didn't. Neither did you, Aniki. Rosa did. But that means she exists. There are people who can prove she exists, so we're sure right away that she does. It's the opposite of a devil's proof. And I want to meet her too. I want to ask her directly what kind of business she has with the Ushimita family. I agree with you on that. I do indeed wish to inquire as to what business she has on Kenjima. Don't play dumb. There's only one thing she could be after. Father's inheritance. We should work out our future plans with a lawyer who's hot on inheritance issues. If the mistress claims equal rights as mother, then our shares will be cut right in half. But wait a second, everybody. Genji-san will come very soon. He knows everything. I'm sure he'll answer our questions. Until then, let's stop talking about this. Hey, you kids. Sorry, but the adults have to start talking about something complicated. Return to the guest house. Rosa yelled at the children, slightly overcome with emotion. The children didn't understand why they were suddenly being yelled at this time, but even the rest realized it too late. They were talking so bluntly about the filthy topic of the inheritance, right in front of the children. Of course they wouldn't want their children to remain. So they all immediately agreed with Rosa's plan. But that's right, just as Rosa-san says. George, take all the cousins and go back to the guest house. You all play nice together. George, do as you're told. Take all the cousins and leave right now. But wait a second, Mother. We still haven't finished eating. Ooh, and dessert hasn't even come yet. Ooh. We will have Goda-san take dessert to the guest house, so leave. Jessica, from here on, the adults will be talking together. Go. Sure, even though I'm still eating. Well, guess I won't be the only exception. Thanks for understanding, Patlikun. But you sure are lucky. Huh? Why? I'd want to leave if I could. Hehehe, I bet. I'll let you adults enjoy our happy family chat about the inheritance. I will also leave my seat. At any rate, it appears my turn will not come tonight. Nandor quietly rose to his feet. From his seat in the farthest corner, he had been calmly watching the whole discussion without butting in. Surely that reaction of his was very adult, just what you'd expect of a calm old gentleman. Nandor rose from his seat, it ended up encouraging the others who were supposed to leave. The children noisily rose from their seats, and as they hurried into the hallway, the servants returned. I apologize for taking so long. I've called Genji. I was checking to see that all the doors and windows were shut, so it took me some time. My apologies. Okay, let me use the bathroom and restock my drinks. I'm gonna heat my coffee up, so it's gonna be a few minutes. I'll be back in a bit. I will return. My punishment for leaving to get drinks. Be thinking, gee, Hawkeye, you sure took a while. Well, there is a reason for that. It's not just because I stopped to eat a chocolate chip cookie because I was kind of hungry. Because the corner store I get my coffee from, as of yesterday, they have bigger cups. They have king-size cups. And when I go and get the coffee from there, rather than using my own creamer at home because that's kind of a waste, I take like their little creamer packets because they're free. I take like their sugar packets too. And you can probably imagine how many individual packets I have to open to make this thing taste right. I think it's pretty good now. It's hard to tell after you have something sweet like chocolate because it kind of dulls your taste. But I think it's good. Which does remind me of another topic. Has anyone else had pink Starburst in a while? I had some of these, and I think they've changed the flavor like considerably. There's like a weird aftertaste or something now. They're not the same. Is it because it's one of these like all pink pics of them? Or have they just changed them in general, I wonder? Because they're not as good as they used to be. Like, they used to be the best flavor, pretty much, which is why they literally started selling these, because people liked it so much. But I feel like they've cheaped out or changed something. Kind of defeats the purpose, right? It's like, hey, we know you really love this thing, so we're going to sell it to you without any of the other flavors attached. But we're going to cut down on costs and make it taste not as good. Sorry, that's capitalism. Come on, children, to the guest house. Oda-san, my apologies, but could you carry the children's portion of the dessert to the guest house? Ha. Is that what you wish? It seemed Goda wasn't amused to see the dinner he worked so hard on interrupted like this. He sent Natsu a look as though asking her whether that was really okay. Do as Rosa-san says, and it will not be necessary to set out dessert for us. Do not approach the dining hall until we call for you. Oh, poor Goda. Tell the rest of the servants to do the same. Understood? Yes, as you wish. Come, everyone. Shall we go? Maria-san, you mustn't trouble your mother anymore. Ooh, I want to talk about Bioto too. No, 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 ooh. Maria-chan, could you tell us about Beatrice in the guest house? I really want to hear about the witch. Okay? Ooh? Ooh. Wow, that was easy. You're pretty darn smooth, George Nisan. I'm impressed. Are you sure you don't have kids? You're too used to this, hee. George's words had completely restored Maria's good mood, and now she took the initiative, telling the others to head on to the guest house. It looked like Goda didn't like being kicked out himself, but he couldn't disobey Natsu, so he left the room with Battle and the rest, closing the door. Is there some way I might be of service, everyone? Oh, don't be dumb. Yeah, there sure is. We've got a whole bunch of questions. In fact, every one of us does. So much that we almost want to have a lottery to see who gets to ask first. Just checking something. Okay. But no matter who wins the first lottery, the first question will be the same, won't it? That's right. Kenji-san, answer me honestly. Who is this person called Beatrice in the VIP room right now? Oh, don't shut the door, I want to see. They still haven't read the damn letter. Give me the letter. If you haven't noticed, the game has a weird thing where, like, if you're moving your mouse, it lags. It kills the FPS. You can really see it here on the clock screen if I do it. Astute viewers might have noticed it during text scrolling sometimes. You can't see my mouse moving, so maybe you didn't connect the dots, but... yeah, I don't really know why that's the case. Must be some side effect of the engine. I don't know. Hideyoshi's claim that advertising double the taste was apparently right. After being chased out to the guest house, the kids and Nanjo had gathered in the cousin room and were eating the cake that Kumasawa had brought for dessert. It was both wonderful and high class, topped with lavish amounts of cream and decorated deliciously with fruits. But delicious as it was, it didn't taste quite as good for some reason. Haha, without Goda-san selling it, it isn't nearly as good. And if we asked Kumasawa-san to sell it, she'd just say it's made of mackerel. Ooh? Really? You watched someone stream a game where the game tanked to a third of the frame rate with the cursor being on screen at all. That sounds like it could be a thing where, like, windowed full screen was laggy, but regular full screen wasn't, or something. Sometimes, like, one of those modes shows the cursor and the other doesn't. That'd be my only guess. Otherwise, I have no idea how you could program it to be like that. Game dev can be weird sometimes. You hear about them killing, like, NPCs in the new Dragon's Dogma game to lower the, like, lag that they cause, to increase the FPS higher. It's funny. Of all the silly things. It's like, you know, looking down at the 4 in Donkey Kong to render less stuff. To speed up the game. It's crazy. Video games have really interesting stuff when it comes to performance. There's a lot of funny stuff you could talk about. Help raise the FPS of my brain, I swear. Oh, absolutely. And as you can see with this very cake, if you mix the squeezed juice of mackerel with flour and eggs before cooking, it comes out all fluffy. Oh, that'd be incredible if true. Maybe mackerel cake will show up in the new menu at one of Father's restaurants. Wow, after all, mackerel's full of nutrients and sounds healthy. It might get really popular with women and the elderly, but I'm not going to get anywhere near it. Girls want to eat something that weird. Even the elderly would wish to decline. Oh, but it's delicious, you know. Kumasawa was really cheering up the mood with their classic mackerel jokes. But the sound of the downpouring rain kept turning their attention towards the mystery guest. In the end, they showered Mario with questions again, since she was the only person here to have met Beatrice. Hey. I can't believe she was actually telling the truth. You make it sound like So you never believed it. This Mori meets a witch business isn't news to you. Yeah, I thought it was just one of those fairy tales you'd expect from a dreamy kid that age. She exists. Beatrice exists. Every year when we come to the family conference, I meet her and we play together. That's right. Although Beatrice-sama doesn't usually show herself, I hear she sometimes unexpectedly appears before honest people with clean hearts. Oh. Beatrice referred to that character in the fairy tale about the Irokenjima witch. To keep Kenzo in a good mood, the family and servants act as though they believed in the witch's illusions. That's how Irokenjima's fairy tale, or maybe ghost story, come into being. To the family members who knew that backstory, the fairy tale of the Golden Witch wasn't something to be taken too seriously. However, they were never able to say that out loud in front of Kenzo. Because of that, the legend of the Golden Witch, carried a lot more weight to someone like young Maria, who didn't know the story of how it had come into being. Staring? That's why Maria believed in the legend of the witch. She accepted it entirely. That was only natural if you can imagine a girl who believed in witches. So people had avoided saying things that would betray her dream. On the contrary, they'd work together to say and do things that would help liven up her dreams without her knowing. So when Maria-chan was showing us that candy that supposedly came from Beatrice, I figured someone subtly slipped it into her handbag. I've done similar things a few times in the past, secretly placing sweets somewhere. I imagine even Kumasawa-san, or rather, all of the servants and everyone in the Ushimina family has done it once or twice. So if it'll make a small innocent kid happy, you might place a sweet somewhere and have everyone join in on keeping the secret alive for her. Come to think of it, I'll bet you do that kind of thing all the time, George Aniki. Who knows? You'd probably be boorish to admit to such a thing out loud. George admitted it while being extremely wary that Maria didn't find out. In other words, it's kind of like Santa Claus. To protect the kid's dreams, the parents plot together and lie, setting presents at the bedside of a child fast asleep. After all, you want to protect the kid's dreams, right? Obviously, I've known Santa doesn't exist for a long time now, but if there's no reason to wake up from a dream like that, I wish I could have believed it all my life. Because adults know that the world is filled with terrible things, they want to at least protect the pure dreams of a child. Ooh, Beatrice exists. Exists. Isn't this a bit heavy for Maria? Yes, she does. Beatrice-sama does exist, right? Some time ago, when I was drying mackerel to make some black tea, suddenly... Well, it basically goes something like that. Supposedly, at least. So, simply put, this was supposed to be a witch that no one but Maria believed in. I wouldn't phrase it quite like that. The point isn't that we didn't believe. We were all trying to give her a chance to believe. So this is about not betraying a child's innocence. But Santa doesn't exist in reality. If you don't want kids to be all disappointed when they learn the truth, you'd be better off not showing them that dream in the first place. Is the fact that I think like this proof that I'm still a long way from becoming a full adult? The true nature of the Irokenjima witch was finally starting to take shape in Valor's mind. However, their current situation overrode this understanding, and in fact it completely overturned its very premise. So we thought we knew what was going on, but now Beatrice-sama the witch has actually appeared in reality. Is that it? And judging by how freaked out our parents were, just freaked actually, it looks like she wasn't an invited guest. Now it's starting to get interesting. There's no reason for us to simply assume that a woman called Beatrice doesn't exist, as well Uncle Rudolph called the devil's proof. None of us knew that a woman calling herself Beatrice existed. But that's not the same as proving that Beatrice doesn't exist. That's the unfortunate truth of it. Dr. Najo, you've been friends with grandfather for a long time, right? At one point during the family conference, I was questioned quite thoroughly by Cross-san and the others. They wanted to know if, long ago, Kinzo-san might have had a mistress called Beatrice and an illegitimate child with her. I get it. Our parents have their heads full with the inheritance problem. So of course, if the daughter of a mistress like that showed up, it'd be troublesome for them. Cross-san and the rest probably asked Genji-san about it first. However, Genji-san is an aide who's sworn loyalty to Kinzo-san, and is probably a friend more trusted by Kinzo-san than myself. I doubt he told them anything. So next, they went to ask me as an old friend of his. And, did grandfather have a lover called Beatrice, Dr. Najo? He did. No, I've never met her. However, I have heard from Kinzo-san that he had a relationship with a woman like that. He said she passed away a very long time ago. She's dead. So, did the two of them have a kid? That I do not know. Kinzo-san always says that reviving Beatrice is the goal of his research. Usually, if one loses a mistress but has a child left behind to remember them by, they'd pour all of their love onto that child. Therefore, we naturally assumed that there was no such child between Kinzo-san and Beatrice. It checks out. Maybe. So that leaves us with another devil's proof. Yeah, it's impossible to prove that a child between him and a mistress didn't exist. There could be, like, Beatrice quintuplets for all we know. Imagine that. Ugh. Gives me chills. So now that this child has actually appeared, we have to assume she did exist after all. That's a bit of a rushed argument. It's more realistic that someone caught wind of the trouble with the Ushimura family inheritance, knew about grandfather's relationship with the mistress long ago, and impersonated her, tried to take a slice of the inheritance for themselves. Sure, that is realistic, but we can't deny the possibility that she really is an illegitimate child. One who lived in isolation, forgotten by grandfather, and who's returned for revenge, right? Revenge? What do you mean? Sorry. You guys just like to dramatize stuff to make it all sound interesting. I've seen too many weird dramas. Hehehe. Normally that might have come off as a light joke. But the joke had landed after an uninvited mystery guest calling herself Beatrice had marched in on the day of the family conference with a bloody argument that the inheritance had... Huh? Oh, that the inheritance had become... took center stage. Oh. Sentence structure. There was no way Bapper's joke would be welcomed with laughter. So it was a really big help when Nanjo laughed brightly to calm everyone down. I see. That does sound quite intriguing. I'd love to read a novel with a plot like that. I don't think it could actually work. After all, right now on this island, there's 1, 2, 3, a total of 18 people, right? If anyone tries to do something weird, they'll immediately get caught. And thanks to the typhoon, they can't even leave the island. In other words, if you try to commit some crazy crime, you'd be screwed. Uh-huh. Yep, definitely. That's why it already happened. Once before. 6 people dead in the shed. I agree. In a dead end, without any way to escape, and in a situation where everyone's really suspicious of her, I seriously doubt she could pull off a terrifying revenge drama like that. I guess with a shed, you kind of have to assume, you know, everyone was killed individually and brought to the shed, one by one. Still though, it's a lot of work. Probably not. In that case, it would be more realistic if she'd come in secret, without making her presence known. I simply cannot imagine someone appearing openly to take revenge outside of some historical drama. Well, who knows, right? Revenge is based on emotion, not logic. If you've got someone willing to go down along with their opponent, they might not be afraid of anything. Not even the police or large numbers of people. It's okay, Jessica-chan. None of the disturbing things we're imagining will happen. All of them will happen and more. Hehehe, like the battle royal between our parents over the inheritance isn't disturbing. That's right. Dad and Uncle Rudolph are pretty tough, and Aunt Abe is even trained in the martial arts. We'll be fine. Yeah, you've got a gun. Somewhere. Jessica didn't say it out loud, but she'd vaguely noticed that her own father stood in opposition to all the other siblings on the inheritance issue. They usually played nice in front of the children, but when that pretense was lifted away, like it had been at dinner, the result would be a tumultuous uproar. After realizing this, it was only natural for Jessica to be frightened at the thought that her parents might get caught up in some kind of trouble, and become human sacrifices for something terrifying. Seriously, George Aniki's right. Nothing's gonna happen, even if she pretends she's a witch. What can a single human woman who can't even use magic do? Oh, you said it. Beatrice will remember this. Hehehe. The sudden creepy laugh made all of them jump. And when they realized the strange laugh was coming from Maria, they were shocked again. I see. So that's how you see it, Battler. What is? Don't laugh all creepy like that. You accept Beatrice's existence for now. At least you accept her as the 19th person and a guest. But that's all, right? You don't accept that the 19th person, Beatrice, is a witch, right? Huh? All the crazy things to say. Of course that's what I think. Witches couldn't possibly exist. The only possibility is that she's a human woman claiming to be a witch. Hee. Isn't that odd, Battler? That's a devil's proof, isn't it? Of course witches don't exist. But just because you've never met a witch, that doesn't mean you've proven that witches don't exist, right? That's right. You're not wrong there. I can't prove that witches don't exist. However, even if I can't prove it, I can claim it. I claim that witches don't exist. Why? How can you claim that witches don't exist, even though you can't prove it? Because things like that don't exist. Hehehe. So that's QED. You finished your proof without any evidence or basis. Now there's a typical case of the ignorant willfully ignoring the shallowness of their own knowledge. A reckless suspension of thought. These are not words for a child. I'm running out of breath saying all this. Hehehe. And there's only one way to resolve this, Mario. The witch's side needs to show some proof themselves. It's a devil's proof again. If you bring me a devil, we can end this right now. In this case, we can just get this woman calling herself Beatrice to display some wonderful, magnificent magic like the twinkling stars. All she has to do is show us something that's impossible for humans, right? Come now, you two. Please settle down. Musawa noticed that the atmosphere between them was getting worse and tried to calm them. They both look like they're having fun, they're smiling. It seemed as though Battler quickly realized that he wasn't acting like an adult. But Maria's expression didn't loosen. As she laughed creepily, she kept staring at Battler. You quit it too, Mario. Let's get back in a good mood, okay? Hehehe. If that's what you want, Beatrice will definitely show you. Something impossible for humans. When she does, you'll believe too, okay? You'll believe in Beatrice. Sure. If she lets me have a look, I'll believe. It's a chess debate between the witch and you, Battler. If you get checkmated, you'll believe in the witch. Ooh, I like the way you put that. The witch shows her magic. My king is put the check. I quibble, saying it'd be possible to reproduce her feat using measures even a human could take, and my king escapes. Failing to do that would be checkmate, so that's a pretty good analogy. Battler, in chess, you and your opponent have pieces that move in the same way, so you can predict your opponent's moves. But you know what? What you aren't expecting is that your opponent's pieces might be able to move in ways far stranger than yours. You simply assume that, since witches must not exist, the movements of Beatrice's pieces will obviously be the same as your own. But you know what? Sorry, Battler, but your chess partner isn't human. She's a witch. She can move her pieces in ways that humans can't. Right now, your understanding is flawed. Battler, you like Aunt Kiria's chessboard thinking, right? Yeah, I like that style of thinking, where you stand in your opponent's shoes. And that's why you'll get stuck. Even though your opponent is a witch, you won't accept it. So you can't understand the moves a witch might make. And your chessboard thinking won't work. Your knowledge of your opponent is mistaken. The very first premise of chessboard thinking is broken down. Ah, so that's your game. You cannot win in chess against a witch. Hehehehe. That is a lot of laughter. I'm impressed that they, seemingly kept it the exact same length as the Japanese, probably. I'm actually just check that real quick. I assume it's several lines in Japanese as well. I usually keep laughter the same length, even though it's kind of maybe a silly thing. Yep, there it is. I'm not counting them, but yeah. Sonato wa majo to no chess ni katenu. She does not talk like a child there. Wow. Even here, it doesn't sound like a child. But here especially, the whole you can't win chess against a witch thing, this is more classical Japanese almost. It's forms that you don't really use in normal Japanese nowadays. I don't know what happened after that. We servants were strictly ordered not to approach the dining room. I see. So, Shannon, have you ever met this person called Beatrice before? I don't know. That was a slightly odd way to say it. It didn't quite sound as if she was saying her memory was hazy. For us servants, Beatrice-sama is the second master of this mansion. Some people say we've spread that rumor because of the master's influence, but even when I just started working here, the story of Beatrice-sama was already being whispered of. I've heard about it before. If you don't show respect, you'll get cursed, and at least one servant actually did meet with an accident, right? Hey, Freddy. You can see I've decided to keep your Mario for now. She's just such a good fit. Yes, but it's true that some people will need more than others. I, believe respect for that sort of thing shouldn't be forgotten, so I've never doubted that she exists. I vaguely believe that a, shadowy being called the Golden Witch existed. And then that witch, whose existence was so shadowy and obscure, actually showed herself and entered openly through the entrance hall. The downside to this, like, jumbo coffee is I'm only here, and I kind of already have to heat it back up, so I'm going to put it aside and have more later. I'll heat it back up again later. I'm kind of, like, coffeeed out again, so I'm okay for now. I don't know. I don't know anything. When you brought her dinner, did you talk about anything? No, nothing. I see. Still, a witch that eats food somehow doesn't sound so realistic. Maybe, after all, it's just someone who knows about the witch legend on this island. Someone is taking on Beatrice's name. I think you probably come to respect Beatrice and think of her as something like a guardian god of the mansion. So when a person appeared actually going by that name, maybe you were a little disturbed. That's right. I guess that must be the case. She is not telling him anything. George was slightly at a loss as to what to do about Shannon's downcast appearance. Maybe not just Genji, but even the young servants had been ruthlessly questioned as to whether they knew anything about this Beatrice person. Thinking that, he tried to cheer up somehow. Surely, just like Maria and Jessica, Shannon was unable to fully hide the agitation caused by the sudden visit of this person calling herself the Golden Witch. He'd been so sure that that was the case. But George probably had no way of looking into Shannon's heart. Shannon was bitter and sad. The door to the Golden Land would be opened. The witch had definitely told her that. That meant the demise of everything. Even if she accepted the ring from George, they would never be married now. No, in the first place, did furniture like her even have the right to be married? Even if the witch hadn't come to signal their demise, wasn't the relationship fated to fail sooner or later? Had she turned her gaze to focus solely on those fun days spent with George, while purposefully closing her eyes to the sad reality? What's wrong? You really haven't looked well for a while now. George-san, what does it mean to be engaged? Huh? It means making a promise to marry. But I think in that sense, it means the same thing as marriage. To be honest, I want to take you home as my wife right away. But right now, I'm in the middle of training, and I'm still a long way from having the capacity to create my own castle. And that's why I want to take you home with me, with my head held high. Only after I become a full adult. I'm not talking about the distant future. I just want you to wait a short 3 years. But that doesn't mean I want to lie about my feelings for another 3 years. So, I decided to give you an engagement ring. That might be a shameful reason as a man. Maybe it's shameful to get engaged because I want you to wait, since I can't support my work and a wife at the same time yet. But I will definitely. Thank you very much. I understand that to you, George-san, an engagement ring means something different from one of many presents you'd give to a lover. Of course it's different. Engagement ring isn't a simple accessory. It's an oath between lovers, a noble promise left in the form of a ring. So, if we were to get married right away, it'd be completely meaningless, right? Oh. 1 second. Then it wouldn't be an engagement ring. I'd give it to you as a wedding ring. Either way, I'd still be giving you a ring. So it's a sold sign, like saying, this woman is mine, nobody touch her. No, that's not what I... George knew that he was weak by nature. When he'd been captivated by Shannon and had sworn to become an excellent man, he'd also sworn to throw away the weak part of himself. So even if he had to be blunt about it, he chose to answer a little roughly. He was sure that doing so would bolster and reassure Shannon. It's not a terrible way to think about it, though. No, that may be true. Kyle, I'll make you my wife. I won't give you to anyone else. I'll make you mine alone, so no one will lay a hand on you. That's what this ring is, without a doubt. Thank you very much, George-san. I'm truly happy. Then, George-san, it was decided by fate that this engagement ring, that this promise could never be fulfilled. Would you still give it to me? Shannon tried to ask that, but she swallowed her words. because George had already spoken the answer. George had said it. He'd said that to him, an engagement ring was infinitely similar to a wedding ring. Therefore, accepting George's ring had a significance far more sacred than a promise to marry. So, I'll stop calling this an engagement ring. From now on, this isn't an engagement. It's a wedding ring. Is that really okay? Is it okay to, just proclaim that we're married without even God's blessing? Yeah. It's enough to tell God, Father, and Mother about it afterwards. We'll tell them all that we've been married. No one will be able to undo it. George-san, I'm not saying this because of a momentary emotion. I'm not just looking at how you are now. I'm looking at the you of tomorrow, of the next day. I'm even gazing at you as you'll be in old age, in the future, as I say this. You're always talking about that, George-san. About how you want to enjoy your old age slowly, surrounded by healthy children and grandchildren. Yeah, at that time, an older you will be inside me. That is what I expect. No, what I foresee. Yes. Because that day will surely come. Will it surely come? Yes, surely. Definitely. And this ring proves it without words. Please, show me. Huh? Here it is. George, thinking he was being told to show the ring, hurriedly took out the ring box. Even though he'd practiced so much, he hadn't been able to do it cool. But Shannon wasn't looking at that. In her straight and direct gaze were vague tears and a smile. She focused her eyes on George's eyes. No, on something she could see beyond his eyes. Please, show me that future. Yeah, I'll show you. Surely. I promise it. And not just until old age. After we die, too. Even when we become spirits, we'll always be together. That's kind of weird to even bother saying. Shannon wiped away her tears and took the ring box. Inside was a diamond ring worthy of blessing the two of them. George said the line that he'd practiced over and over again inside his head. I want you to put this ring on whatever finger you like and have that be your answer. So by tomorrow morning... Shannon smiled, took the ring, and with a completely natural movement, put it on the ring finger of her left hand. It really had looked like such an ordinary, natural movement. And for a while, George was stunned. This is my answer, George-san. Shannon, no, Sayal. You'd think by now he would be more used to calling her Sayal. Even when we become spirits, we'll always be together, George-san. There was no blessing from God, no pastor to witness, nothing. But the two who were married proclaimed it. Two souls were joined here today. This is a very long pause. Okay. I wasn't sure if I had a click or something. Nay, son, you're a fool. Is that so? Even though you're furniture. Even though you're furniture. I'm not furniture. Not anymore. Liar. Why are you fooling yourself? Even though you know you can never become human. Even though you know you can't become human unless you go to the Golden Land. Knowing that, why did you abandon the promise that would let you go there? Oh, right. By accepting the ring. That promise with Beatrice-sama comes to nothing, doesn't it? I'm sorry. From now on, I, you, George-sama the Master, and everyone else are under the same conditions. 13 people will be sacrificed. Only 5 people will be invited to the Golden Land. And you rejected one of those places yourself. That's odd. Looks like you're the one with regrets, Canon-kun. You're the one with regrets, aren't you, Nei-san? You got engaged, right? Even though you knew it was a fate that would never be fulfilled. Yes, I promised that we would always be together for eternity. So you know what? In that instant, our eternity was completed. Even if we become sacrifices, it's already completed. So it's okay. Canon, you're the one who actually has regrets. We're furniture, right? We'll be freed no matter the results. So it doesn't matter whether we go to the Golden Land or not. And yet, you're set on going there. You want to become human no matter what, right? Why? Because I want to become human. I've had enough of being furniture. Why? I wanted to fall in love too. Tears were coming from Kanon's eyes, and he howled. I liked my lady. After seeing my lady that day, I started liking her even more. And when I heard that my lady also liked me, I was really happy. But I'm furniture, and I can't accept my lady's feelings. You're wrong. We may be furniture. We may be less than human. That doesn't mean that we aren't qualified to love. I thought that if these feelings would never come to anything, I'd be better off not having them. I just decided that eventually I'd disappear, and that it definitely hurt her. No, that's wrong. I was just frightened. I was just afraid, thinking that any love that couldn't be eternal was best avoided. Even though their lives last only a few weeks, cicadas fall in love and then vanish. But you'll never find a cicada that refused to fall in love simply because it ended in a few weeks. Arg. Arg. It seemed that Cannon was still muttering his regrets, but by now it was all jumbled up with the sobs. That witch is detestable. Why does she plant these feelings in me? If only she hadn't pulled that bizarre prank, I wouldn't have paid my lady any notice. Beatrice Sama is detestable. To make you cry bitter tears, she played games with your fate. But I don't think things went as the witch expected. After all, knowing love isn't a regret that ties you to life. It is the destination we're supposed to reach in our journey through life. Well now, Cannon. That promise you worked so hard for has now come to nothing. He kissed her shoes for no reason. Very well then. With this, the conditions for all the pieces are the same. There are 18 pieces. 13 will be offered as sacrifices. Who will the 5 survivors be? Or else, will someone destroy this ceremony? Who? How? Oh ha 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 ha. This isn't a chess problem. It's a game on an equal footing. I won't be cornering you one-sidedly. You'll be able to frantically escape my advances and force a tie, an invalid match. At any rate, I doubt you can manage more than repeating that over and over. And it probably won't be that difficult for you. However, this invalid match will continue forever, until it eventually wears down your mind and kills it. That is when you'll accept your defeat and surrender to me. There's a reason I said it was a game on an equal footing. That's because rules for my loss have also been established. There's nothing as boring as a game you can't lose, right? As for how to defeat me, that would be the epitaph that stands as an offering to my portrait. It's both the way to open the door to the Golden Land, and the key to destroying my ceremony. I'll try to complete the ceremony in accordance with the epitaph. You'll try to solve the riddle of the epitaph, destroy the ceremony, and overthrow me. Solve the riddle hidden in the epitaph, and expose the location of the vast sum of gold at Cape Kinzo. What result will this game show us? I'm expecting a good fight, okay? Entertain me, Ushiramira Battler. I have no objections. Not seen, I acknowledge it. I can't believe it, and I don't want to. But this is the truth, isn't it? Natsuhi, choose your words more carefully. She's this family's most honored guest. I also acknowledge it. Can't argue back. Yes, I acknowledge it. I have absolutely no complaints. I can't believe you have my honest respect. Me too. Incredible. I genuinely respect you. So I have to acknowledge it. I acknowledge it too. I still can't believe it. Still, what can I do? You've proven devils. It's your victory. The devil's proof was once a convenient excuse used to deal with unprovable facts, but now it's become your mortal enemy, has it not? Don't torture me, mighty witch. I've already acknowledged you. I resign. Kirie, do you still have objections? I must have everyone in agreement. If you alone will not acknowledge my existence. As the witch laughed boldly, the siblings started getting frantic. They were afraid of displeasing the witch. Kirie lightly closed her eyes, and after keeping silent for a while, opened her mouth. My apologies. I resign. Onirikiri had faced the witch with stern eyes until the end. However, this had only resulted in her refusing to accept the truth for a short time. The truth, the being that was before her eyes, couldn't be denied. Devils had already been proven. I also acknowledge it. You are Beatrice, the Ushimura family alchemist, and a user of great magic. I must acknowledge the fact that you are a witch. Well, she hasn't gotten Valor to admit, but she's gotten a lot of other people too. What does this mean, I wonder? So they weren't in the dining room anymore either in that scene. You could tell from the background. More like a church. I wonder if anyone's made like an approximation of the map of Umineko in like Gmod or something before. I don't know like exactly how much is known about like the exact layout. Probably not enough. You'd have to make a lot of guesses. But if that exists, I'd love to see it. Or in Minecraft or whatever, you know? So now what happens? Guess this is more or less just showing us where everyone is. I wish I had more to say, but I'm just kind of like anticipating what's going to happen soon, that's all, if anything. There's not really too much to say while I'm waiting for events to happen. Not much more than the game's already said, really. There's that theme again. So we're starting day 2. 6 a.m. again. Dawn of the second day. This is gonna take a second apparently, so let me refill my water. 2 seconds. I was gonna mention at the start, but I totally forgot. I was supposed to do JTD yesterday. Sorry about that. Just timing didn't work out right, and I got wrapped up playing games with friends. And I admit that I'm a weak-minded person who likes video games. I'll try to get to it next weekend. Okay. What is that sound that always fills my ears? Is it the sound of the rain, the sound of a waterfall, or could it be radio static? If not, I want it to be the sound of blood flowing through my body. That's disgusting. I want it to be the sound of the blood circulating throughout me, telling me that I'm still alive. Gross. I hate, like, pumping and flowing blood. I don't mind seeing blood in, like, a static state, or even, like, light bleeding or something. But I don't like veins and arteries and, like, heartbeats. That, ugh, it frankly really grosses me out. That's, like, a thing of mine I can't deal with. Is it morning? The light entering through a crack in the curtain was faint, but at least told him that dawn had broken. Kidzo, still in the position he'd been in when he woke up, still sitting in a chair and looking up at the ceiling, felt the blood slowly travel throughout his body. Judging by the clock, it was early morning, 6 a.m. on the dot. No matter how tired he was, no matter how deeply he slept, he always woke up at exactly this time, as though he'd measured it with an hourglass. He didn't think of this as something to boast about, but he told himself that, as long as he could still manage this, his health couldn't be that bad. Morning has come, which means, it would appear I've avoided becoming one of the first sacrifices. Was I merely lucky when the roulette was spun, or is this the fruit of my efforts? How irritating that I cannot tell the difference, but I mustn't be bothered by such trivialities. He's squeamish about blood. It's a good thing we're playing the Umineko VN and not watching the anime. Because even though it censors some of the bad gore, you still, you know, see things like, censored or not, you still see like stakes sticking out of people's heads and stuff. And there's going to be worse things later on. The offense will be involved with like one of the worst ones, honestly. That always gets me. So was struck by a faint desire to see beyond the study door. And by gets me, I mean like I have to like look away in the anime for a second, even though I think it actually cuts away before it happens. Still, ugh. After all, he might find the traces of someone's vain struggle to break through the door. A sign that someone had tried to select him as one of the first sacrifices. Humans are cheap creatures. Even though everything is ultimately decided by God, when humans are given good fortune, they arrogantly feel it was due to their own ability. That was why he wanted to check whether there was a wretched mark on the door. Just like Patchy says, if everything goes well, it's because of my good deeds, but if something goes badly, it's because of someone else's bad deeds. Someone else's fuck up. The very desire was human, and that was why Kinzo did not check. He often rejected desires that came to him because he was human. By doing that, he could be immersed in a feeling of sufficiency, as though he himself had become a being that surpassed humans. We call that, narcissism, not being sufficient. He recognized human desires for what they were, and guarded against them. Things that a human would want to do, he resisted. This eccentricity and rebellious nature had surely given him a rare genius, making it possible for him to succeed in his exploits, as he revived the Ushimita family in a single generation. Well then, Beatrice, what were the 6 pieces you took? And what will your next move be? Entertain me. My defense is perfect. I will not shame myself like last time. Heh, heh, heh. Interesting that Kinzo seems to know about last time. That's weird, isn't it? Anyway, we don't know what's happened yet. It's not going to show us until we find the bodies. Their servants woke early. They had to open the curtains, prepare breakfast, and complete various other tasks to welcome the guests to a new day. Personally, I hope Goda's dead. Damn it. Goda was the most enthusiastic. During the family conference, he had been told to concentrate his efforts especially on cooking. That is pretty much his job. Then he'd been specially exempted from several tasks that servants normally must do. Goda, who was a show-off, seemed to be feeling particularly superior because of that. He let Genji and the rest prepare the rest of the mansion, and worked on making breakfast in the kitchen. Genji split the work with Shannon and Cannon, and they carried out various tasks. Shannon headed to the dining hall and knocked. Last year, the family conference had continued into the early hours of the morning. It wouldn't have been odd if this year's conference had done the same. Considering the possibility that they were still having a discussion inside, she knocked. But there was no response, so she opened the door and said good morning. Ohayou gozaimasu. Is anyone there? Dareka iru deshou ka? The room was cold, and the conference seemed to have ended a long time before. There was a tea set at the table from which they'd probably been drinking, arranged in a way that would make it easy to clean up. Cleaning up the tea was the servant's job. If the family members were extra generous and cleaned it up themselves, the servants would lose face. So it was a truly pleasant act of kindness for the family to do only this much. As she approached the table to clean it, she noticed something like a memo that had been left near the utensils and cups. Since it was right next to the tea set, Shen picked it up, naturally thinking it was a memo for the servant doing the cleaning. Written there was not a request, nor was it thanks for preparing the tea. It was just a single word. Shen looked at it blankly and read it out loud. Chapel. We never did get to see the contents of that letter either. Rosa forgot to read it. Or maybe she read it off screen. It's obnoxious. See, not in here. The small sound kept repeating over and over. Normally that sound would have been too trivial to be worth caring about. If only I could stop hearing it so soon, I could go back to sleep right away, she thought vaguely. But no matter how much time passed, the sound did not end. It repeated over and over. Ah, shut up. Who is it? Banging at the door this whole time. As soon as she realized that, she woke up. Someone was knocking. Then she noticed that it wasn't just a knock, but a voice as well. Rosa-sama, Rosa-sama. Good morning. But wait, I'm coming now. It had been Genji's voice. Looking at the clock, it wasn't even 7 yet. It was clearly too early to wake the guests. Did something happen that was bad enough to cause this? She felt her sleepiness increasingly fade thanks to this premonition of misfortune. feel like it's like a game of Mafia where you like see someone's perspective waking up every time or something. Though Genji was a servant, Rosa had known him since her childhood days, so even though she was slightly defenseless in her pajamas, she opened the door crack and answered. Alright, though. Good morning. I apologize for waking you this early. Did something happen? Yes. Actually, at the chapel. Genji whispered something into Rosa's ear. For a second, it seemed Rosa couldn't understand what she'd been told. After having it repeated several times, she realized that apparently something strange had happened. Rosa closed her door for a second, changed her clothes quickly, and followed Genji towards the mansion. Cats have the prettiest eyes. The chapel requires some explanation. It sure does. It wasn't in the mansion, but in a grove behind it, a short walk's distance away. It had been built at the same time as the mansion, so though its walls had been repaired many times, making it look new from the outside, it was a very old building. Rosa dashed through the rain along with Genji. Just like the previous night, the rain was falling in earnest. Eventually, the chapel came into sight from beyond a thin grove. Just looking at it from the outside, it seemed a place of dazzling beauty, where a pair of young lovers might want to get married. However, Kinzo apparently viewed it as a very sacred place, so Rosa and her siblings had been giving strict instructions not to approach it unnecessarily. Even though they were all grown up now, approaching the chapel for any reason would still make them feel guilty, and also afraid, as if their father might get angry and hit them in the face. The servant silhouettes could be seen in front of the chapel's entrance. Goda, Shannon, and Cannon, which meant that all the servants on the morning shift had gathered. I guess Kumasawa was asleep. A short while ago, Genji had spoken to Rosa, telling her what the situation was. However, without laying eyes on it directly, she definitely hadn't been able to understand. It was probably the same for all the servants gathered here as well. Without seeing it with their own eyes, they wouldn't have been able to understand what was going on. Yeah, it's okay, it's just more graffiti. On the door at the entrance to the chapel was something very large, drawn with a creepy, stringy paint that made one think of blood. Something like a creepy magic circle. What is this? When was it drawn here? The servants looked at each other. Koro was the first to open his mouth. My apologies. We don't usually enter this building, so we don't know when it was made. But who was the first person to find it? It was me. When I went to the dining hall to clean up the tea set, I found a memo with a chapel written on it. Shannon held out the memo with a shaking hand. Whose handwriting is it? It isn't Nissan's or Nasan's. So after all that, you came here and found this, right? Yes. Rosa-sama, look at this. What? Happy Halloween for... What? Cannon pointed at a single line of English written below the creepy magic circle. Until it had been pointed out to her, she thought it was just another part of the magic circle. There, the following words were written in English. Happy Halloween for Maria. I need to go use the bathroom. It's a good time real quick before we get into the meat of things. I'll be right back. Alright, let's get to it. Happy Halloween for Maria. This creepy magic circle was for Maria. Happy Halloween. Yesterday, only one person had said Happy Halloween to Maria. The key phrase matched. It was the Golden Witch Beatrice. What are you staring at? What about Maria? She should be sleeping with her cousins, right? Did you check? My apologies. We just now realized that Maria's someone's name was written here. We still have not checked. Quickly. What are you doing? I'll go check on Maria and come back. Tell Cross Nissan and the rest, too. After that, follow their instructions. After saying that much, Rosa finally noticed that something was odd. Go on. Her own rank at this family conference was the lowest of the 4 siblings. Why had she been the only one called during a normal situation like this, when the other siblings hadn't been? Even if Maria's name had popped up. Could it be? Huh? What? Yes, we tried to contact Krausa, but we couldn't find him. And Madame was not in her room. Judging by the condition of the sheets, she might have not returned to her bed at all last night. Rosa felt something creepy falling slowly up her back. Did you check inside the chapel? No, not yet. We tried, but actually the lock to the chapel is special, so the master key will not work. There is a single key that can open it, but that key is missing from the key box. She didn't want to get closer to the door with the creepy magic circle if she could. Rosa readied herself and approached, then tried pushing and pulling the knob. All she felt was the resistance of the sturdy lock. We searched to see if there was a window we could enter through, but I think we'd have to break one of the windows if we wanted to check inside. What do you think? There's no way I can give you approval to do something like that. This is Father's precious chapel. At that time, the events of the previous day whirled around in the back of Rosa's mind. That's right. I met that witch in the rose garden. Didn't she hand Maria an envelope? Yeah, there's no mistake. She did hand it over. When Maria tried to open it, the witch told her not to do it yet. And then she surely said, the time to open that will come soon. Rosa was sure. There could be no mistake. The envelope Maria had received was... Did you read your envelope yet? Scatterbrain. After dashing back to the guest house, Rosa approached the cousin room while hiding her footsteps. Softly opened the door and peered inside. From the inside, she could hear the healthy snores typical of young people. There were 4 children, and Mari was there, sleeping soundly. After breathing a sigh of relief, she entered the room with quiet footsteps. She was after Maria's handbag, which was resting on the sofa. Maria always liked carrying her treasures around with her. She was probably emulating how her mother always carried her makeup with her. Of course, she was just imitating her mother, so everything on the inside was junk. In Maria's case, it was full of small, creepy, occult items, notebooks describing things of the nature, and so on. Rosa had never been happy to see her daughter walking around with things like that, which weren't girlish at all. However, trying to force Maria to stop had resulted in a big fight, so she decided to let it be. Here, this is it. A western envelope with a crest of the gold eagle. She took it out of the bag. She realized there was a heavy, vaguely cylindrical object inside. She could tell by its feel and weight. There was no doubt. This was a key. After turning around and checking that Maria was still sound asleep, Rosa tore open the envelope and the contents spilled out into her palm. It was a key with an old and intricate design. Rosa gripped that key and dashed out. Valor seemed to have noticed that sound, but after grumbling and turning over in his sleep, he started snoring again. He almost got to join in on the fun. Genji-san, could this key be the key to the chapel? What did you... Yes, this is the key to the chapel. Rosa approached the creepy magic circle once again and put the key in the keyhole. There was a strong resistance. After it resisted for a short while, it stopped resisting with a clunk. Then, squeaking with a noise that hurt one's ears, it slowly began to open. Is anyone there? Her voice reverberated throughout the massive room. Of course, there was no answer. The chapel had a high ceiling, and the air was cold. And even on this rainy, unsettling day, it felt sacred for some reason. The servants timidly followed after Rosa. Rosa-sama, look at that. And I noticed it immediately and pointed. Over there was the altar. In the place that would normally have a pastor preaching God's love, there was a table that shouldn't have been there. At first, it looked like a dining table. There actually were gorgeous plates and utensils placed there, making it look like a child's birthday party or something. Upon closer inspection, the surrounding area had been decorated with pumpkins and black and orange ribbons. They were probably Halloween decorations. And there were people seated at the table. 3 people on each side facing each other, seated in chairs. They could be recognized at a glance. Kraus and his wife, Eva and her husband, and Rudolph and his wife. But if you wanted to be sure, you'd still have to go even closer and check. Because they seemed almost like dolls. Rosa and the rest opened the door, entered all at once with the sound of many footsteps, and called out, asking if anyone was there. Yet there had been no reaction. Even if Rosa and the rest assumed they were being ignored, you would still expect there to be some kind of reaction. And there hadn't even been that. So at first, it felt like someone had set down some dolls that greatly resembled those people. By now, it wasn't just Rosa, Shannon and Cannon, and even Goda. They were all fighting frantically with the creepy emotion that grasped their hearts. Captain, go on, bud. Hey, go on. Hey. Come on, June. You're okay. Come on, sweetie. Come on. Captain won't bother you. You're safe. Nissan? Nissan? As she walked towards the altar, she called out again, but there was still no reaction. Yes, by now, Rosa was sure of it. She was sure these weren't dolls, but the people themselves. This is... Move these out the way so she's got more room. There you go, June. We got the whole side of the desk. They grew close enough to see clearly what lay on the table. It still looked like an adorable banquet, reminiscent of a child's birthday party. Plates piled up with sweets, cute pitchers with drinks, all kinds of pumpkin-shaped ornaments. They were all decorated in a Halloween style, and while this probably wasn't the time to be thinking it, Mario would surely have been delighted to see all this. That was the state of the table they sat in front of, apparently asleep. It was an eerie scene, as though a small, fun-looking Halloween party had been stopped in time. They're all sleeping? When she approached even closer to them, she realized that there were snacks scattered all over the floor. Candies, cookies, soda, and chocolates, all with heavily fantasy-themed packaging. They were all scattered across a carpet covered with blackberry and cranberry jam. Sure it was. What? Rosa and the rest finally realized what the situation was. It was a Halloween party. Ding ding ding. A banquet for those not of this world. Kraus, Natsu, Eva, Hideyoshi, Rudolph, and Kirie were seated in chairs, apparently asleep, but all dead. How could you tell that they were dead and simply not sleeping? And not simply sleeping? It was because they'd been vertically sliced open, from their chests to their stomachs. Kraus-sama. How cruel. The 6 of them had sat down at a Halloween party, before having their stomachs split open, killing them. Then, the jam covering the floor must be what overflowed from their stomachs once they'd stuffed themselves completely, right? No. Contents of their stomachs had been scattered all over the floor. And that wasn't all. Out of their stomachs, it was almost as though they'd poured out, as though snacks had overflowed from there. Wow. Candies and cookies, soda and chocolates had poured out, stained with blood, and had scattered across the floor. What could have happened to cause this? It's almost as though their stomachs were stuffed full to bursting with sweets. It all poured out when their stomachs split open. Just ate too much. Rosa remembered a certain shocking meal, a turkey that had been served at her own birthday. When it had been cut open with a knife, out flowed one of her favorite foods. But since she hadn't been told what was inside, the deep red ketchup omelet rice poured out like bloody maggots. It seems like a really bad idea for a kid's birthday party. Pulsing, dripping, slimy, pulpy, squelching. Trauma of her youth was revived. Rosa felt a monster raging inside her stomach. As the acid started to rise, unable to hold back, she threw it all up on the floor. Her empty stomach had nothing but stomach acid. The scene in front of her was no fun Halloween party now. The three couples were enshrined right there, their stomachs brutally wrenched open with a so many stacks of them stuffed in there, pulpy, squishy. Blood and guts and sweets were overflowing onto the floor. Bloodstained, sticky, sloppy, pulpy, sweet snacks that made your fingers stick together. Gummy, but stained with entrails. Sloppy, pulpy. What was that I stepped on just now? Did it feel like candy or a cookie? Or soda? Or chocolate? Itchy tasty. I'm scared. What did I step on? I can't even look at the bottom of my foot. What a gruesome Halloween party. From far away, it looked truly beautiful, fantastical, and fun. But from up close, it was horrible, disgusting, and yet somehow still beautiful. No, narrator, no. Wrong. Get therapy. Rosa's wild thoughts tried as best as they could to escape her throat with a loud voice that was neither a scream nor a roar. Cross-sama. This is horrible, just horrible. Call an ambulance. Call the police. That's right, the police. Police. If a word so tied to reality hadn't come out of Goda's mouth, Rosa and the rest would probably have found themselves unable to escape that nightmarish party even now. But it wasn't because they thought the police might be able to do something. If they didn't keep yelling at the police, they felt as though another seat might be set up at this demon's party and given to them. Their own chests felt like they were expanding unpleasantly from the inside, rumbling, churning, and it was surely because candy was about to overflow from their stomachs. Rosa, once again, tortured by a desire to vomit, threw her stomach acid up on the floor. And then she searched to see if there was any candy in it. Anyway. Rosa coughed violently again, forcefully spitting out the stomach acid that had been burning in her throat. She realized that by now, her whole hot body had been covered in a filthy sweat. Hey, Genji-san, Shun-chan, please contact father and ask for instructions. Goda-san, go with Ken and call the police. Then, have Dr. Nanjo come here. Why even bring Dr. Nanjo here? It's a bit too late for medical care. The servants accepted their orders and dashed outside. After watching them leave, Rosa once again stared at her siblings, with whom she'd spent good times and bad, and their partners. Though there could be nothing more tragic than this scene, for some reason, she was tempted to describe these fantastical deaths as beautiful. No, still, I don't know where this is coming from. Therapy. You need therapy. You got your bib in your mouth, honey. They aren't here. Where'd they go? The servant room and the kitchen are both empty. What in the world happened? Ooh, Mama. Where's Mama? My letter. The letter I got from Bieto. Give it back. Give it back. Wow. Whoa. Perplexing. Butler couldn't. Are you sure it was Aunt Rosa? Well, even I was half asleep, so I'm not too sure, but I get the feeling that, in the early morning, Aunt Rosa came in and fished her out of Maria's handbag. I figured there was probably a tube of toothpaste or something in there. Why would there be a tube of toothpaste in Maria's handbag? Looks like you were a little more than half asleep. Butler vaguely remembered Rosa entering the cousin room. Also, when Maria woke up before the rest of them, she'd started rampaging around, saying that someone had opened the envelope she'd been keeping safe. Putting two and two together, they figured that Rosa had probably come and opened the envelope. A letter from the Golden Witch. I wonder what was inside. I don't know, but that envelope was for grandfather's personal use, and it had the Ushimura family crest on it. Whatever was inside it must have had some connection to the family conference. She hadn't let anyone touch it, but yesterday, Maria had shown that envelope off to Butler the rest a whole lot, so they remembered it well. Ooh, Mama, give it back. Mama, give it back. Ooh, wow. Well, if you're right, it'd have to be pretty important. Why would this mighty witch give us something that important to Mario? I don't get it. Every once in a while, the refreshing morning atmosphere was completely wiped out by the sound of thunder. It was only natural. Since the moment they'd woken up, they hadn't met anyone else. It felt like only they were left, as if the mansion had become an empty husk. Oi, anyone there? Answer me. Jessica called out into the hallway, and eventually an answer came back. It came from the entrance hall. I can hear you. Has something happened? It's Dr. Nanjo. Thank goodness. It looks like everyone but us hasn't disappeared from this island after all. Dr. Nanjo, good morning. Sorry, but do you know where our parents went? Dear me, I only just woke up and came here, you see. I have no way of knowing for sure, but let's see. It was only natural. Nanjo was a guest just like the rest of them. He'd come just now to pass the time in the parlor until breakfast. Ooh, Dr. Nanjo. Dr. Nanjo, Mama took it. Mama took my letter. Give it back, ooh. Maria buried her face in Nanjo's plump stomach, sobbing and crying. Nanjo could do nothing but be bewildered at this ruckus so early in the morning. Ah, someone's running this way. Jessica, someone's coming. From down the hall, they could sense people running hurriedly. They saw Goda and Kanan coming towards them. Normally, it would be disgraceful for a servant to run inside the mansion. And yet, Bella and the rest didn't even think to question that now. Their sobbing had become so unmanageable, they wanted to ask someone, anyone, what Rosa was. But the two servants seemed to have bigger things on their minds than Jessica, who was waving at them. Goda flew into the servant room, and when Kanan noticed that Nanjo was there, he bowed and approached the doctor at a quick pace before whispering something into his ear. What did you say? Rosa-san did? Yes, I will guide you, so please accompany me. Understood. This way. Without saying anything more than that, Kanan finally noticed Jessica and bowed to her. But he wasn't calm. He dashed back down the corridor by which he had come, followed by Nanjo. By looking at how hurried they were, Bella and the rest realized that yes, something bad really had happened. They saw Goda through the door to the servant room, which had been flung open. He was holding the receiver and violently pressing the hook. From that, they realized he was trying to call a hospital or the police. In any event, he was trying to call someone because a serious emergency had occurred. Let's have a look. Yeah. Mama, give it back. Give back my letter. It's an invitation to the Golden Land. They didn't know what, but something was happening. Bella and the rest chased after Kanan and Nanjo. And then we realized Kanan Kun had called Dr. Nanjo, but he hadn't called us. So we shouldn't have gone with them. I wonder if Alice regretted her excess curiosity when she chased after that rabbit holding a clock. Like go gargle salt water or something. Nasty throat today. No, you mustn't go in. You mustn't look. Jessica-chan, no. Not this again. Eek. No. Mother, father, what happened? Ooh. What the hell is this? This goes way beyond bad taste. Isn't taking someone's life bad enough? What the hell is this? Made all the trouble after they died of sitting them on chairs, siphoning their stomachs and pulling their entrails out? You went to all the trouble of stuffing their stomachs full of sweets? What? Why the hell would you do something so fucked up? Damn it, damn it. Nice job, you bastard. Just great, just great. Yeah. It would be best if everyone went outside. They certainly wouldn't want you all to see them like this. Nanjo told the children to go outside, but no one listened. Rosa-san, please tell them. If they keep looking at something like this, it will do nothing but harm. Rosa regretted her own carelessness. She should have realized that the children would eventually come here. She should have quickly locked up instead of standing around stunned. So the children had come here. They had seen it. Surely at this very moment, they were having a sight burned into their eyes. It was far more grotesque than the shocking meal Rosa had witnessed in her youth. While she hugged Maria, who seemed to be too shocked to show any emotion at this gruesome scene, Rosa cried for them and their parents. Poor groaning and crying voices, their sadness, continued to echo in a place that should have known God's love. You piece of crap. Again? Another one of these murders? And this time you made it all elaborate, killing them like it's a total joke? I was rather hoping you'd thank me, not cry out in grief. Thank you? Did you say I should thank you, you old bitch? Damn it, if there's something wrong with your ears, I'll cut them both off so you can hear better. Why should I have to see that insane way of killing and say, oh, thank you very much, Beatrice-sama. I'll beat your brains out. In the last game, you lamented the fact that you couldn't see your parents' faces after they died, yes? So this time I left them. Didn't touch them. Take a good look, or without a doubt, your father and the rest have been killed. But really, what a nice treat. I'm so fucking happy. I swore I'd plow your face after I took the life out of you, but I'll take that back now. Rip out your guts instead. Don't give in to emotion. Don't stop thinking. My game has already begun, right? I decided to leave you neat and tidy corpses this time. Do you know why? When you denied my existence in the last game, you used this line of thinking. Their faces were crushed, so the identity of the corpses can't be confirmed. Therefore, we can't eliminate the possibility that fake corpses were prepared to create an alibi. Unless that possibility is denied, a human culprit theory can still be built. What'd you say? So, Battler, is it okay to leave the examination of the corpses to Nanjo? Isn't it traditional in mystery novels for the doctor who performs such examinations to be an accomplice? Then don't leave the examination to him. Do it yourself. Make completely sure that without a doubt, the 6 corpses are the 6 people they're supposed to be, that they really, really are dead, not just pretending. If you wish to confirm that your father and mother have been killed by having their stomachs cut open and their entrails pulled out, you'd better stick your hand inside their stomachs and feel around. Waff. I won't cry. Damn it, I won't cry. Valor suddenly yelled. His tears were still dripping down, but as though scolding himself for being a sissy, he slapped his face hard several times with both hands. Even so, the tears still wouldn't stop. However, he felt a hot blaze in both his eyes. Whoever's responsible for this piece of work, I'll make them pay back their debt completely. So this isn't time to think. Time to cry. Gotta think about what to do. It's useless. It's all useless. If you've got enough time to cry, then think. This is no time to let yourself cry. Rather than genuine anger, maybe it was more of an evasive anger to blot out the sadness. However, it gave a little courage towards Jessica, who'd been crushed by the sadness. That's right. Even if we cry, it won't change the reality of what has happened. Damn it. And what should we do? What should I do for Mom and Dad's sakes? Rosa-sama, I returned. Koro-san, what happened with the police? What did they say to do? Did they say when they think they'll be able to get here? As to that, it seems the phones have broken down. I also tried the emergency wireless, but, maybe it's the weather, but that isn't working either. What did you say? So we can't contact the police? It's that person. They did something to the phone line, made it so we can't reach the cops. When she heard that the phones had broken down, Jessica immediately decided that it was the work of that mysterious guest. Her eyes were bright red after so much crying, and they began to grow even redder with rage. Ah, there's no need to talk about it, right? I understand everything. That's right, I get it. Who killed Dad and Mom? It's obviously her. It's gotta be that witch or whoever came yesterday. I'll grab her by the collar. Damn it. Jessica-chan, wait. Koro-san, Kana could go. Yes, ma'am. My lady, wait. Covering her uncontrollable sadness with anger, Jessica ran outside, torn apart by emotion. Thinking about it hastily, maybe the mystery guest who'd arrived yesterday, Beatrice was suspicious. However, in that instant, there was absolutely no proof that she was the culprit. At this moment, she's just another guest, no more, no less. So Rosa, making an adult decision, was forced to stop Jessica in her rash rampage. Goda and Kanan picked up on this immediately and chased after her. Would the guest that no one invited, Beatrice, be the culprit? I understand how Jessica feels. I wish I could think that too. Doesn't matter who, I want someone to be the culprit so I can bash them right in the face. But before that, we need a clear understanding of what's going on. Who is this Beatrice? I haven't even seen her face. Hehehehe. If you're looking for a face, it decorates the big portrait in the mansion. You dumbass. You still don't remember after looking at it for so long? You dumbass? Hehehehe. Come on, Maria. What's so funny in a situation like this? Beatrice was a witch, you dumbass. And the ceremony to open the door to the Golden Land has finally begun. Those 6 people are sacrifices. Hehehehe. Come, let us begin the witch's banquet. Tonight is Halloween, so now the witches will gather to celebrate. Hehehehe. Maria, don't I always tell you not to laugh with that creepy voice? The crisp sound of Rosa slapping Maria's cheek echoed through the high-ceilinged chapel. In this case, it's kind of acceptable to maybe like slap your child for laughing when there's 6 bodies in the room. This is a very inappropriate time to be laughing. I'm not gonna defend it, but I'm not gonna criticize her here. That is fucked up. Ever since it started raining yesterday, no, ever since the island was swallowed by the typhoon, I felt as though something was wrong. It was bright and sunny when I arrived on Okenjima, but since I'd gotten up early and was sleepy, I took a nap. When I woke up, it had already started raining. Ever since that time, suddenly, a mysterious visitor calling herself the Golden Witch Beatrice had arrived, and it felt like I was sinking bit by bit into a bizarre world. Outwar's bizarre adventure. What the heck happened while I was napping? Am I supposed to believe this island was sealed off inside a different world, where common sense doesn't apply? Who is this person called Beatrice? Is some unknown person trying to involve themselves with the inheritance problem, just like our parents were freaking out about at dinner last night? Or is the culprit this witch from the Legend of the Gold, just like Maria said? Even if we set Jessica's temper aside, given the circumstances, it's probably safe to say that this visitor person is the most suspicious. But we mustn't make up our minds based on that alone. It's useless, it's all useless. I smacked my face with both hands again, pulling off my brains before they overloaded. Even though it might have been a wasted effort. This is one of Grandfather's envelopes. On a tray piled up with sweets that decorated the table, Joe found a Western envelope that had the Ushimura family crest done on it in gold leaf. And it was unopened. Which means it's probably meant for us, right? If it was something Dad and the others read, it should be open. Seems your reasoning is correct. It's written right here. Someone wrote, "To those who remain." Is that a letter the culprit left? But what's inside? Aniki, let's open it. After nodding silently, Aniki broke the seal. A folded letter came out. I'll read it. Welcome to Rakenjima, members of the Ushimura family. I am Beatrice, the alchemist for this family, employed by Kinzo-sama himself. That letter really was a joke. As Beatrice, who called herself the family alchemist, had announced that she was collecting the gold she'd lent grandfather, along with interest. The interest was everything grandfather had created. Since this tragedy was right before our eyes, as this paragraph was being read aloud, it clearly wasn't referring just to the wealth that grandfather had built up. It was literal. Everything that grandfather had created. In other words, all grandfather's descendants were included in the interest. So the same letters before, I think. You bastard. What a screwed up contract. Wives as interest for gold, you say? That's almost like a contract with the devil, isn't it? You think that makes you look more like a witch? Ha, don't make me laugh. Special clause. However, if someone is able to discover the hidden gold of this contract, Beatrice must abandon these rights for all time. Kinzo-sama has already publicly displayed the location of the hidden gold within the epitaph under my portrait. In other words, it's something like this. Does it say "my" there? Is that just an error, maybe? Oh, it's correct. Okay, weird. In other words, it's something like this. If these murders represent her collecting interest, then she's telling us to try to find the gold she gave grandfather if we want her to stop. And she's also saying that the secret pointing to the gold, is hidden in the portrait epitaph. So basically, this is a letter of challenge from the witch. She's telling us to try to solve the code that points to the hidden gold if we can. And if we can't, she'll keep collecting the interest as planned. I'll beat you to death, bring it on. With Balorkun. Look, look. The table was covered with sweets, so even though those things were right out in the open, we just assumed they were sweets too. I mean, come on, you see them a lot, right? You know, those boxes of chocolates shaped like gold ingots. This is no box of candy. It's the real thing. This is a real gold bar. It's inscribed with the crest of the one-winged eagle. I heard Mother talking about this earlier. This is a gold bar from Grandfather's Legend of the Gold. Gold ingots weighing a full 10 kilograms. A whole 3 of them were piled up in the very center of the table. It was where cake would be placed if it was a birthday party. In other words, this was without a doubt the birthday cake of the party known as the family conference. Either these are really 4 9s quality ingots. Maybe that's gold terminology. Gold. It's worth about 60 million yen. Dumbass, that's too cheap. Our parents have been killed and all you've got is this pile of just 60 million yen on gold. Don't take us for fools, damn it. Hehehe. So, it's begun, Beatrice. It's not like anyone can solve this riddle anyway. So, Beata will definitely win. Quickly, open the door to the Golden Land and take me with you. Hehehe. That took only 45 minutes for them to get through. Wow, they work fast. I was hoping this would go to a certain scene next, but it's still going to take a bit, so I think that I'll do on Umineko for today. I was hoping to get to a specific part, not just the first Twilight. But that's going to be for next time, clearly. So this is all the same. Hey, we can go check the characters. It's not really worth reading all 6 of these, honestly. But you can see they all died the same way. And we just have dark things written here at the end. Next time, like usual, we're going to start talking about how this could have happened, alibis, all the interesting stuff, basically. Why are these, like, JPEG'd so badly? Like, do you see how blurry these are? I guess maybe it's on purpose. I guess maybe it makes sense. Why is Beatrice so far off to the right? I feel like that might be a bug. Why isn't she further to the left? That's weird. She's positioned fine in this version. Oh, look. I guess it's worth checking the new portraits new portraits to see stuff like this, at least. It's kind of neat. Yeah, they don't blur them in the updated portraits. But the blood is a lot more bloody, that's for sure. Yeah, Beatrice is like over there for whatever reason. Regardless, mood. Nanjo. Shannon. Okay. Good, good, good. Alright then. That's enough Umineko for the day.